Does AI terrify you? Does it excite you?
I'm tired of talking about AI or thinking about AI. It's everywhere. From a healthcare perspective, I have concerns, but I think the benefits that AI is going to bring within the healthcare world far outweigh the risks. The acceleration for running the models to come up with drugs quicker than what it has taken in the past. Specifically for access to care and remote care for people in rural areas, the future for healthcare is a whole lot better because of AI.
What if it goes wrong? What if it ends up in the wrong hands?
The dollar monetary value of a clinical record on the dark web is magnitudes higher than a social security number. We've seen in the past the attacks on healthcare systems and holding them hostage and not being able to let them provide care to the patients and not being able to access their clinical record. Protecting the healthcare data against the threats that AI can generate and getting that leaked out is going to be paramount to make sure that people are protected.
Sandeep, what's one thing you see great early stage founders do in the first 24 months that I guess today nobody's talking about?
Yeah, great question for us. I think the one thing or, the approach that the most successful founders or the ones that are in it for long term, they do over the first 24 months is patience. And the reason is because when you walk into or when you start your entrepreneurial journey or when you go down the path of being an entrepreneur, the goal is, man, and the hope is that things should happen at the speed of their own thought, at the speed of their own desire. But that's not how the industry works. That's not how markets work. That's not how consumers work. So to have the patience to say, hey, I am on the right path, or I'm going to give it enough time for a strategy, a product, a message, a pricing to stick, to figure out what's going right, what's going wrong. It all involves patience. I think that's one of the biggest needs or biggest attributes that a successful entrepreneur has to have without sacrificing speed. So I think patience is probably the biggest virtue, for lack of a better term, that a successful entrepreneur's got to have.
It's difficult, right? Because I recently had a conversation with a founder who said something that stuck with me. They said there's being patient and then the frustration that comes with things not moving fast enough. And I feel like there's a world for people where they're made to be a founder of a startup. They're made for that startup environment. And you need this element of, I guess, a certain type of character in you to fight through. If I go back to my journey and I think about one of the biggest lessons I've learned, you're right, it is about the patience. But it's very challenging, right? Because you've got to deliver to your customers. You need to deliver to the market. I feel like there's a small window of opportunity when things just seem right. You feel like there's momentum. How do you balance that, Sandeep? How do you balance between the patience and knowing that you need to keep going very fast?
Yeah. No, another good question. I think a lot of people confuse patience with lack of action or compromise or laziness. That's not what it is at all, right? In this case, or in any entrepreneurial journey, what that refers to is giving it enough thought, slowing it down to make the decisions and slowing it down to let the execution take a hold. Patience, the way to balance it out is, first of all, don't make decisions without the proper thinking and the proper data behind it to make that decision, right? Gut feel almost goes out the window most times when you're an entrepreneur. You've got to make decisions that are based on research, that are based on data, that is based on customer signals, right? So once you've had that input, have the confidence to say, I am making the right decision. We are making the right decision as a company to roll out a feature, roll out a product, roll out a strategy, roll out a message, whatever the case might be. And once you've done that, then you got to let it stick. Then you've got to make sure that you are analyzing the results. You're looking at the KPIs that you said when you were making the decision that, hey, when we're going to roll out, let's say, a new pricing strategy or a new marketing message, here's what I'm looking for from an acquisition perspective or lead flow perspective or impressions perspective, whatever those metrics are that you have set forward. And as long as it's in the right direction to begin with, right? You've got to stay patient. It might not be where you want it to be, but directionally, is it going where you need it to be? And if it is, then you've got to just take a pause and don't just break it just for the sake of breaking it or be like, oh man, I thought it would be better than this. Well, why did you think that, first of all, to begin with? Again, is it backed by data? Is it backed by research? Is it backed by science? If not, then calm down a little bit, right? let things take its own course.
Nothing goes to plan.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah. Nothing goes to plan as an entrepreneur, man. I mean, we will make decisions, go, this is good. We're going to change the course of whatever that's short-term result or long-term outcome is, and then it goes out the window. Right. And we see this, especially in my space, we see it over and over again. And there's a lot of external factors that are out of your control. Right. So being impatient, you you might abandon something sooner than you should, or you might abandon something that you shouldn't have to begin with.
Even just recording this and seeing the dark circles sometimes around my eyes, I think about all the hard work you have to put in to make something work. It's long hours, it's a grind, it's a hustle. But just going back to the choices or the decisions that we make as professionals, as founders, as investors, as CEOs. I once read an article about Jeff Bezos talking about the number of decisions he makes in a year, and even if he gets 20% of them correct, he's done a good job. And I think about it so a lot. As a 30-year-old man, I think about the choices I make every single day, from the very simple things, whether I should eat that or whether I should stay up extra late and watch that movie or go and get some sleep, the knock-on effect the next day and the impact that I'm going to have in front of my team when I walk into that office. What are the biggest lessons that you have taken around choices that have gone horribly wrong? Let's not sugarcoat it. You regret them.
There's a lot of them. There's a laundry list of decisions that I have obviously made it. I think that's true for most human beings. That's true for most entrepreneurs, specifically where they wish they hadn't gone there. The biggest lessons, and I think this goes back to my earlier answer as well, or the question about patience. The decisions that I regret the most are the ones that I made without the proper data behind it to support the decision in the first place. Right? And it could be related to, investing in a company based on a recommendation from someone that I trusted or a mentor. And you know what, if they're doing it, it's a great decision, and I'm gonna go into that path as well, right? And could turn out not to be the right decision, right? And it didn't look at the data, didn't look at the industry statistics, didn't look at what the projections would be, or did I, should I be investing in that company because it's the right product, the right solution, or the right message for the industry. That's where I have my biggest regrets. Is the lessons that I've learned is not looking at data before making that entirely, convincing myself that, hey, it's the right decision without the right support is sort of the biggest one. And the second one that I would layer on top of that is get over it. I let a lot of bad decisions just linger on in my head, man, for way too long. I think letting things just linger in your head. An entrepreneur, and as a person too, and father and a husband, I gotta make decisions, make them. They work out, that's great. We cherish the success. If they don't work out, you think about it, you learn from it, and you move on. Don't just sit there and just ruminate over and over and over again. That's never going to help anybody.
You're right. I did go through this phase recently. I had so many regrets. I was thinking about going back to the age, right? 38. And I think I should have done this 5 years earlier, 6 years earlier. Even this podcast, I've been thinking about starting this 6 years ago. I only started it 7-8 months ago. But now I'm starting to see regret as an opportunity to embrace that regret and find new forms of drive. Because when you make a mistake or you do or don't do something, and it's a regret, you turn that into a lesson, and then you embrace that opportunity now to go faster, to be patient in our version of patience. What about impulse? You said you make your decisions based on data.
Yeah.
But how often, and right, we're humans at the end of the day, right? As an investor, as a founder, as a CEO, whatever position you have in a company, sometimes something comes your way and your impulse says, go. How do you, tame that impulse so that you can wait for the right data?
I don't think you have to tame the impulse. In my experience, the way we're building our company and the culture specifically, I deal a lot with, or I make decisions based on impulse for people. I make a lot of decisions based on impulse based on who should we hire, who should be part of this team, who should be part of this culture. Those are the decisions that I rely on my gut feel, quote unquote, or my impulse, and they more often than not work out. Right, and I have a higher success rate than failure rate. So, I feel that that's the right one. And I remember when I was at Amazon too, I know you brought up Jeff Bezos earlier. When I was at Amazon, there was one of the leadership principles was write a lot. Leaders are right a lot. Right, which means that they do rely on their experience, and experience lends itself to impulse, right? And impulse is where a lot of the leaders making decisions about who to hire, which person is right for the company. I think it works out. The way I tame myself, to your original question about how do I tame the impulse side of it, when somebody brings in an idea to me, or when I have to make a strategic decision for partnerships, for example, which should be partnered with this company or not, I can start with an impulse, but I won't end with an impulse. Right? My initial thought might be, yeah, man, this is a great company to partner with, or that's a great strategy, or that's a great product feature to roll out. That might be the initial impulse, but I want data to back that up, right? I want research to back that up. So I don't think you should ignore the impulse. You can start with the impulse, but if you're making every single decision based on impulse, in my opinion, you're going to end up in trouble.
The timing is pretty crazy. Just this morning, I sat down with and I have a phenomenal team. I love my team. It's taken a lot of time and patience and hours trying to collect this group of amazing people. But just this morning, I sat down with my director of people and performance, who's phenomenal at his job, and my head of talent who does our internal recruiting. And I just said to them, guys, we need to hire 10 people like in 6 weeks. We have to move faster. We're not moving fast enough. And there's this thing that we hear a lot in our industry: hire slow, fire fast. Is that something you subscribe to?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think I struggled with that to begin with, right? Because I came from the non-entrepreneurial side. I mean, I was an employee before I became an employer. In my mind, I was, there was a stigma. There was and do you not care about people's sort of a mindset? When I started this journey, if that was to be followed, the hire slow, fire fast. And we're in the same situation for us. It's interesting you say that. My co-founder and I just had a call this morning. We've got to hire 5 people right now, most on the growth side, right? And the roles have been open for longer than I would have anticipated. But my thing is, I'm not going to just hire somebody because, my God, we've got 40 resumes and I've got to make a decision. I'm not going to do that, right? I'm going to hire the right person or right persons for the role. But what changed my mind, or what changed my outlook on fire fast aspect of it, was, who are you protecting at that point if you're not firing fast enough? You are not doing a service to your company. You're not doing a service to all the people that took a risk on your company to be on the ground floor as a startup.
Yep.
Because the person that you need to fire is not pulling their weight, not delivering the results, not getting the job done that they were hired to do, or might be a wrong cultural fit, whatever the case might be, right? So who are you protecting? And honestly, you're not doing that person a favor that you need to let go.
Yep.
Right? Because the message that the people that we've had to let go at Healed, or even in the past roles of mine within leadership, the message was not that we don't like you or you're not good enough. The message was, hey, this might not be the right place for you, given your mindset, your approach, your experience, the way you handle things. And you've got to find the place where you can be successful, while at the same time we can also get the right person here.
I 100% agree. And it's taken me years to be mature enough to understand this. It's not something you could read all the books in the world, but you have to live it. And I think of it as self-selecting out. You build a culture, you have certain values, you do your best to sell that vision, you storytell because you believe in it. I find that if you self-select out, then you're doing injustice by not having that conversation with that individual and saying, look, this is not the place for you. Because I believe also the team internally, your team in the business who are selecting to that mindset, who are subscribing to the vision, if they see somebody in the company who isn't, they'll probably self-select out and find somewhere else. And you end up losing the people that truly are aligned with the vision. So I do agree with you. In terms of the market today, Sandeep, so we are in this very fast-paced market. We are living history right now with AI. And I'm trying to talk less about AI because it's all everyone's talking about and all everyone is talking about every day. But you can't escape it because I'm starting to truly fall in love with it. I'm seeing a huge amount of productivity. I'm also recognizing the real value of all the different tools that we use and even the tools we're building in-house. But in your opinion, when you look at the industry today and what's happening in the market, does AI terrify you? Does it excite you? Are there elements of it that makes you think, what if it goes wrong? What if it ends up in the wrong hands?
Yeah, and kind of like you, I'm tired of talking about AI or thinking about AI. It's everywhere, and I think that's the nature of any sort of technological advancement in the history of mankind, right? And something comes along and it becomes the hot topic and everybody's going to refer to it, talk about it. From a healthcare perspective, I have concerns, but I think the benefits that AI is going to bring within the healthcare world, healthcare field, it far outweigh the risks in my mind. And specifically for access to care and remote care for people in rural areas or people that have not traditionally had good access to quality healthcare, right? I think AI can change that quite a bit. Gosh, the development of vaccines and the development of therapeutics. I think the acceleration for running the models to come up with drugs quicker than what it has taken in the past. I think that is going to be where the most exciting developments happen within healthcare. And I'm excited about it. I think the future for healthcare is a whole lot better because of AI. But again, we have to be careful. We have to make sure that, there's going to be threats about data leakage on healthcare side. As I think there was some study that I read, the monetary value of a clinical record on the dark web is magnitudes higher than a social security number. The protecting the healthcare data against the threats that AI can generate and getting that leaked out is going to be paramount to make sure that people are protected, because we've seen in the past, before I just started Healed, the attacks on healthcare systems and holding them hostage and not being able to let them provide care to the patients and not being able to access their clinical record. And we're talking about pediatric hospitals being held hostage, right? Obviously, my personal feeling is that there's a special place in hell for people like that do that. Forget the personal side. It's just the impact on business and making sure the kids are taken care of. So I think it has to be well balanced out. It has to be well thought out. We do need some guardrails. We do need some regulatory framework, but I think AI is going to help healthcare more so than a lot of other fields.
As you know, I've had Neil Patel on the show from Redesign Health, who's somebody you know very well. It's quite interesting. We spoke about the future of hospitals and what does it mean to get care. I do agree with you. I think AI is going to have a profound impact on certain industries more than others. When you think about where you are today and the business you're building, which I'd like you to at least share with the audience what the company does and what problem you're solving, how does AI play into your company? So just very quickly, what does the company do, the problem you're solving, and how does AI play in what you're solving?
Yeah, so Healed, the reason Healed was built, HEALD, as the company spelled out, the reason Healed was built to address a very specific issue around metabolic health. Right? Metabolic health, as we know, research proves over and over again, is the root cause for most of the chronic conditions, all the way up to cancer, right? And the approach in the past has been either throw all tech at it, throw all people at it, or throw a bunch of therapeutics at it. What we said was there's got to be a better way where you can use tech, and this is where AI, I'll speak to that. This is where AI came in handy for us and has really helped us. Let's throw tech at the data problem. Right? Users are generating data from wearable devices, from glucose monitors, from weight scales, smart rings, all that. There's a value to that data and analyzing what the overall health looks like based on that data that you're gathering. Let's throw tech at that. Right? But then there's the accountability side where humans relate better to human beings. That's human nature. Till that changes, we're going to stick with that. So let's throw humans at the human side of it. So can you have a team, a care team that is accountable to you and you're accountable to them to address the human side of it, right? So an ideal combination of tech where needed and humans where necessary, right? That's kind of what we built to address the root cause of metabolic health, to focus on 4 key factors: nutrition, fitness, sleep, and stress. And what's surprising for us is that most of the companies in this space in the past have ignored the two stress and sleep aspects entirely. They've always focused on, hey, eat more salad and go for 10,000 steps. Let me tell you when to do that. Let me track it and you're good to go. Well, no, it's not. If that were the case, we would not have a $412 billion problem with diabetes in America and almost $1 trillion problem globally with diabetes at about $960 billion globally. What we said was, can we design the ideal mix of tech and people and support the patients across nutrition, fitness, sleep, and stress? Where does AI come in? A simple example: onboarding, patient onboarding, right? You got to connect your devices to the app. You got to connect your glucose monitor, your smart scale, and all that. Initially, we were doing it on a manual process that, hey, let's send the instructions. Let's have somebody get on the call and help them pair the devices with the app. What we did was, hey, let's just create an AI onboarding agent. And that AI onboarding agent using generative AI is going back and forth with the person to not only gather the data about the patient while they're speaking and thoughts, guide them through the process of onboarding. It cut down our onboarding time significantly, freed up our resources to go focus on other aspects. Then we also knew that, hey, if there are patients that we have that are older, that don't like to talk to an AI agent to onboard, that's when the human will get involved and close the loop and you're done. So we're bringing in AI where it makes sense. We're not using it as an AI as a solution in search of a problem. We're using AI where there's a problem where it can be a solution.
Just to explain this in a way as if we're speaking to a very young 5-year-old, when we talk about metabolic health, what exactly are we talking about?
Yeah, so if you think about your overall biology, everything starts from the gut. Everything starts from your center, your core, and then it expands out. So metabolic health in general is the field where you are focused on making sure that you have the right gut health and the subsequent downstream second, third degree consequences of that. A healthy lifestyle begins with what you eat, absolutely. But a healthy lifestyle continues with you not only eating properly, and every human being is different. right? Everybody has a different gut makeup, if you will. And that dictates what they should be consuming, how they should be exercising, how should they be managing their sleep and stress. So combine all that makes up the field of metabolic health. And that relates to the prevalence of obesity, hypertension, cardiac conditions, and so on and so forth.
Sandeep, these episodes, unfortunately, I wish we could speak for hours because this is a topic I love talking about. I spent a huge amount of time. I don't come from a medical background, but I spent a huge amount of time for my mom studying these topics and doing my best so that when I sat in front of a doctor, I could communicate with them and understand exactly what they're referring to. But I've also seen it myself. The last 6-7 months, I've been on a personal journey to transform my eating habits. You talked about nutrition, fitness. The one thing that I think has really struck me hard, especially with getting one of these whoops on my wrist, is sleep. That's the thing that has really stuck. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying about what you eat, your exercise, stress, but sleep has been an interesting one. I didn't realize that I have trouble sleeping. I don't sleep well. I wake up tired. I look at things like HRV, and I notice that when my HRV is higher, I wake up and I feel so fresh, despite the fact I might have only managed 3 hours or maybe 5 hours of sleep. And sometimes I'm in bed for 8 hours, 9 hours, and I've slept. I wake up, my HRV is lower, and I feel really tired and lethargic. And I don't know how much this plays into what you're building as a company and a product, but how does HRV and sleep, how does all of that kind of correlate together?
You're already far advanced about this than most people are, and it took me a while to learn that as well, talking to our behavioral coaches. Heart rate variability or HRV, most of the time it is a good indicator of the impact of stress on your body as you're sleeping. And I'm kind of like you too. There are days when, I think last week I woke up at between 4:15 and 4:30 a.m. every single day, right? And at first I was like, man, this is ridiculous. I need to go back to sleep. It's 4:30. But then I was like, you know what? I feel refreshed. I feel rested. Yeah, it's 4:30 in the morning. Let's go. Let's get the day started. Maybe knock out some emails and then go to the gym or go for a walk, whatever the case might be. And I did that and I felt fine. HRV at the end of the day, what we have seen is HRV has a correlation to blood glucose spikes as well. Right. So if you're not sleeping properly, if you're wearing a glucose monitor, and I noticed that on mine, is when my HRV has been low for any reason, specifically due to sleep, I will see blood glucose spikes in my overnight patterns. Right. And that is the relation between the sleep and the related associated HRV to the blood glucose spikes that you observe. And again, we want the blood glucose spikes to be as stunted, as blunt as possible, and you will see it throughout the day and the next day. That's where we started to notice for a lot of our members when we talk with them, and we will see the heart rate variability data because the wearables, and we're bringing it in, and we will have a conversation with them, and more often than not we'll find out, yeah man, I haven't been able to sleep well. I go to bed really late these days because of boom, 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 or I wake up really early because of these 4 or 5 reasons. And that's when we talk about sleep management with those patients to figure out how they can get more meaningful sleep, more quality sleep. It's not just about the hours. Hours matter, right? You can have 4 hours of quality sleep if you only sleep 5 hours a day, but you can only do that for a certain period of time. You do need the right amount of hours, but more importantly is the quality of sleep. So what do you do before you go to bed? The routine that you can set, the pre-sleep routine, makes a difference.
Does intermittent fasting help?
Yeah, for some people, not for everybody, because there are people that are different. Everybody's different. In my case, for example, if I did, and this is a personal example and story on this, I was doing 16/8 intermittent fasting for a period of 6 months. And it was great. My blood glucose spikes and my blood glucose stayed very steady throughout the day. I switched it to 24 and I started noticing blood glucose spikes.
Wow. So you were doing more, but you saw it have a knock-on effect on your body.
Right.
Wow.
So everybody is different. So what I would say, what we tell our members is that if they are going to do intermittent fasting, we'll ask them to start on, let's say, a 12-12 or 14-10, 16 and something like that. And let's observe what the blood glucose is doing, and then come back to them and recommend, if that's the protocol that they want to follow, what is the ideal time frame also. The misnomer that the same intermittent fasting that works for us is going to work for Sandeep, that is not true. It's different for different people.
Interesting. Sandeep, it's really been a pleasure having you on the show. Would love to have you back on again at some point in the future to do this again. Just to wrap up, as we do with every single episode, a book recommendation. I'd love to hear one from you.
Yeah, as you can see, you don't see this shelf, but you see that shelf, and then there's a whole library upstairs too. Though one absolute book that I recommend to all the entrepreneurs and friends of mine that are in business in general is the book Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. I absolutely love that book. That's the story, the story of Nike. Yes.
Yep.
And you read that book and you start going, man, this could have gone wrong so many different ways, right? But it worked out. And I think that had a lot to do with the tenacity. And I think there are lessons about patience in there as well. So Shoe Dog is the book that I absolutely love and I recommend to people. I read it over and over again. I think I read it 4 times just to remind myself of some of the fundamentals that make a successful company.
You know what's crazy? I purchased this book many years ago. I still haven't read it. And I know it's a book I need to read, so I'm going to make sure I read it. Have you seen the movie?
I have. Yeah, I think everything that has been about Nike from the one that he did, I forget the name, but Steve Prefontaine and Billy Crudup played that. And it was a fantastic movie about the first time that he tried Nike. Steve Prefontaine tried Nike in a competitive race to the last one with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and Michael Jordan, the Air. So I've seen, I try to watch anything that's about Nike, the brand build. And I mean, it's a company that I respect a lot too.
Awesome. Sandeep, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time. Yeah, I would love to do this again.
Firas, it's been great, man. I enjoyed talking to you, and yeah, hopefully we can do it again.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Inside the Silicon Mind. This podcast is powered by Harris & Clarke. For more episodes, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. As always, stay curious, stay consistent, and stay inside the Silicon Mind.